Hey Brian, Joe here, getting back to you. This is the third time. I hope you get this one. Um, I've made over the last 2 days 2 other videos, but of bad quality, and as you can see, the picture here is not very good, and that's because I'm not able to use my usual Logitech webcam, and I'm using the one that's on this computer. But I'm hoping that it's going to suffice. So again, everything I'm going to say is I'm repeating. Sorry. My apologies because I totally missed I missed this video coming in, and somehow, I don't know how, I got confused about it, or I think maybe even there's another one there, but I just found them, and I was up in Canada for 9 days, and I got back and started hunting around, and I found this. So just my apologies. This is not my typical thing to not be responding. So having said that, you know, my thanks to you for being, I guess what I would call an inner city teacher, inner city high school teacher. Really, kudos. And without a doubt, your work can only, be of import to your students in a lot of different ways. And I'm kind of guessing that you're from around Philadelphia only because you used the Closser, the Fed Chair Closser, I'm pretty sure, from Philadelphia Fed. And I know that all of the Fed, they changed their stripes, from hiding behind the secrecy that was associated with their independence to the, a few years ago, to saying, what, we really need to be a little bit more open. So they are making an effort, and they keep selling us on the idea of their effort. So I have to say this at the outset, and I hope that we can maintain a dialogue about this. But you should know that my view of the Fed is not high at all. Okay, it's never been high. Now that doesn't go for the people at the Fed. Okay, it goes for the Fed as an institution. Okay, the people at the Fed are doing the best job they can given the tools they have. The system that they have to work under is broken, and the monetary system that therefore they are responsible for overseeing in terms of the national economy is really insolvent. Okay, and it's insolvent by virtue of there being too much debt, which is the exact statement that former Chairman Paul Volcker made when the Group of 20 analyzed the financial crisis. He says there's not enough money available to pay the interest on the debt. When you say debt, that means on the debt money, okay? That's already in existence. We can't create enough money fast enough to make the debt service payments on the money that's already. That's an insolvent system when you talk about it systemically. So, but they might be good guys, and they might be well intentioned, and the arena that they're working in is defines their ability to do good things, and they think they're doing good things because they want to do good things, and because they're good people, but they're not doing good things. Well, they're doing good things because they keep kicking the can down the road. They keep the system from crashing. Okay, but that's not, to me, that's not their job. Their job, and by the way, just so you know, Glasser was there along with St. Louis Fed Chairman, Bullard, at the Hyman Minsky conference at the Ford Foundation in in April, and I asked of Mr. Bullard, because they were talking about the crisis like as if it was past, and now they have to, mainly what they have to worry about is inflation. They keep pretending like we're really spending a lot of time worrying about inflation. Meanwhile, we're a totally deflationary economy. They're taking these mud balls of quantitative easing and throwing them up there to the top of the banking system where they stay, So I'm a critic of the Fed, okay? I'm a critic of the Fed as an institution, okay? What I said to Bullard, I said, and by the way, because my take on the Fed, because this was about the financial crisis, I'll be through with the financial crisis. What have we learned from the financial crisis? My take on the Fed is very simple, and I listened to 8 Fed presidents. Okay, Fed doesn't get it. Okay, the Fed does not get it. Okay. Well, my question to Bullard, just because he happened to be the one speaking at the moment, was, in all honesty, didn't the Fed cause this crisis? And he said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, isn't it the Fed's job to basically oversee the economy? To oversee the national economy and the monetary system? And if as you and several of the others talk about the fact that it was the largesse and excess of the shadow bankers who they didn't regulate, okay, that's their excuse. Oh, it was the shadow bankers that caused the financial. We don't regulate the shadow bankers. That if it was they who caused the crisis, then what did you do to prevent them from causing the crisis? How did you let something like a shadow banking community come into existence? I said, isn't it your job to go to the Congress and to say that in order to manage the national economy through the monetary system, there are things that we need? And one of the things that we might need is the fact that we don't want to have other people out here creating money and doing it in such a way, by the way, that they the shadow bankers, get so big that if they come down, they take the commercial banking system with them, and therefore the national economy with them. I mean, that's the gist of what I said. Bullard denied it completely. But a lot of people in the room came up to me afterwards, and there were a lot of high caliber people in that room, okay, and said, they don't get it. They said they don't get it. He pretended to not understand your question. He pretended not to understand. So that's my take on the Fed, Brian. Okay? They've been in control of the national economy of this country for 100 years. And they brought us to right here. And despite them being good people, really nice people, really want to go out there and share in what they're doing. Again, I'm sorry. I'm not a Fed fan. Not to the people, but to the institution. Okay, I want to change the institution. Now, talk about changing the institution. Of course, there's different ways of changing the institution. You talk about Ron Paul on the one hand and Kucinich on the other, and they're opposites. Okay, Ron Paul wants to end the Fed. He pretends that the Fed is the government, and that as such we need to get the government out of money. He goes back to and he promotes the ideas of Frederick Hayek, who wrote on the denationalization of money, okay, which should be mandatory reading for everybody at the Fed, certainly, okay, the denationalization of money. To put an end to banking, just let banks create whatever credit they want, let them back it by whatever they want, let their somehow revert to the gold standard, but who's going to run the gold standard, An Austrian libertarian, quasi, conservative on it. He has a lot of facts, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He tells a lot of things that aren't true. He establishes a lot of relationships and makes claims using words that either he don't understand or just plain wrong with them. Whereas Kucinich, on the other hand, and this is my challenge to, sorry, but to you, and to the people at the Fed, and I would be glad to become an intermediary and a participant in this discussion. What has Kucinich done and said that's wrong or that's problematic? Okay, because Pete, my partner Pete Young, he says, all that's necessary for a person to, not understand and accept something is for their livelihood, to depend on them not understanding and accepting it. And they will not understand it and accept it. So you have to understand that. Okay? Guys at the Fed are fighting for their life. They're using the antiquated debt-based money system to do it, and there's no salvation there. There's no solution there. There's more of the same. Kick the can down the road. What are the policy tools? If you watch our videos, we talk about them. Policy tools is zero interest rates. We just got a 2-year extension of zero interest rates. Can you imagine that? Imagine that. We have no tools in the toolbox that we've just taken the last tool and tried to spread it around further so that it could be, claimed to be, we're doing something. Well, we are doing something. We're taking bold initiatives. We're extending the zero interest rate policy for 2 years. That's proof that didn't have nothing. You know, quantitative easing don't work. It didn't work for the Japanese. Why? Because it's impossible in a debt money system for the central bank to introduce money into the economy where it's needed. It's not needed to control inflation. It's needed to promote employment. And the Fed can't do that. And yet it's the Fed's role to introduce that money, you see. So they got no tools because the system is broken. So I really do apologize because, I see you trying to use the Fed as a stepping stone to something superior. I think something that you call, I'm sorry, I forget what you call it. It's money, good money. I think they call it good money. Called honest money and sound money, but the Fed's incapable of doing that. They are incapable of doing that. And so my apologies to you. So I've already talked about the difference between Kucinich and Ron Paul. Okay, you can't lump them together. Don't say what do you think of Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich. Say what do you think about Dennis Kucinich, and then push them. What has he done? Why do you think that what is he proposing? See, because you need to come to understand where we're coming from. We, the monetary reformers that are sort of, you could say, in the Kucinich camp. We come from the scientific basis for money. Okay, the Federal Reserve guys and gals, are working in the banker, therefore commerce created. The most important rule in commerce created the money system is that the highest return is where the money goes. And if you think the highest return is going to be good for either your education or your ability to teach about money to those kids or to whatever those kids are doing when they get out of school, then tell them that they need to become, international financial capitalists, because that's where the highest return is. And by the time they get there, it's going to be gone anyway. But my point is, we're about the scientific basis of money, as is Kucinich. Kucinich's plan is based on the Law Science of Money book by the director of the American Monetary Institute, and so it's based on science, and it's based on science of money that goes back as far as they were starting up with the Federal Reserve again. And I'm talking now about Frederick Soddy. These are names that you got to remember and understand. Paul Simons, Irving Fisher, Herman Daly, etc., etc. The scientific basis for money, not the commercial basis for money. But please, let's talk. Please, let's talk.